Welcome back to the ASUG News Studio again. We're here for the last session of the day, and we're delighted to have Steve Ruggiero here with us. Steve, welcome.
Thank you.
Steve has got a lot of ASUG titles here that I'm going to try and get right. Steve is Program Chair of the Enterprise Data Warehousing SIG.
Correct. Steve
is the Chapter Chair for Ohio.
Yes.
Thank you for all your hard work. And he's also, in his spare time, has a full-time job as well. SAP BW Developer 3 at First Solar.
Correct.
So, actually, maybe it's just a question I want to start off with. I've been asking a lot of my ASUG volunteers and chairs and everything, how do you manage that? You know, you've got a full-time job, which is very busy, and yet you're very committed to ASUG. How do you manage that trade-off? Because certainly you've got a lot of work to do at your full-time job, but also you've made a commitment to ASUG and your peers.
A lot of it is emails.
Mm-hmm.
So emailing is so much easier nowadays with BlackBerry, and so you can be productive just about anywhere. So that's probably most
right.
of it. And then just fit it in however you can.
Yep.
Sometimes you take work home, and sometimes you take something to work that you need to do that's not work.
Right. Does your work see the value of what you get out of your commitment to ASUG and the networking and events like this?
They do. They do. The networking is probably one of the biggest parts of it,
mm-hmm.
because I can go and talk to somebody about an area that we're having questions on, and meet them here at a fair like this, or a conference like this, or via email, and it's really irreplaceable.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are thousands of companies doing the same thing you are, so there's no sense in recreating a wheel if they've done it already. So,
yeah, that's great. I mean, that's the value of ASUG, right? I mean, those core values, as we were kind of talking about before, right? I mean, education,
mm-hmm.
community education, and most people say, they get more back than they give because there's so much out there. Is that something you would agree with?
I do. A conference like this where the sessions are an hour, you might not get a real grasp of what you want to get out of that mm-hmm. session, because you can only learn so much in an hour.
Right.
But you now maybe have met somebody that's in the class or in the session with you, or maybe you met somebody that was doing the presentation, and you then network with them,
mm-hmm.
and now you have an expert that you didn't know before.
Right.
So,
next new best friend.
Right. So it's education and networking kind of combined in the same thing.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, as the program chair of the Enterprise Data Warehousing SIG, are you seeing some trends happening now over the last year that you would care to bring up to the rest of the ASUG community there? Is there?
Well, I probably don't necessarily need to bring it up to anybody. I think everybody knows HANA, so that's...
HANA, what is that? I haven't heard about that.
I don't even know what the acronym stands for. Highly analytical something. It doesn't really have the acronym mapped out the way that you would think an acronym is. So, but that is the largest, that's the big hullabaloo, I guess, if you want to call it that.
What are some of the questions people have around that? I mean, is it roadmaps? Is it more technical? Is it more business related, or what? I mean, from your point of view, maybe it's more technical stuff.
Well, as a BW developer, I think that it's partly technical, but the business, the business folks at First Solar are interested in it because now they can get their data, and they can get it faster.
Mm-hmm.
So they're really interested in that, and all of the data points that maybe they don't have today that we might be able to make available, because now we can make things merged or faster just in general.
Right.
So,
I've asked this of other people, do they care about the technical questions? I mean, executives want what they want when they want it, right? If you have to talk to them about maybe some of the intricacies of the plumbing or making it all work, is that conversation you need to have, or is it more about how it's going to make the business better?
I think it depends on the person.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you'll have somebody that doesn't care about the technology.
Mm-hmm.
I want the report. I don't care how you do it, right? I don't care where you get the data, just as long as you get it to me and it's mobile and fast.
Mm-hmm.
Other people want to learn a little bit about the technology because they think they want to, maybe they want to expand on it. And the more that they learn about that, they may be able to request other things that'll help them because they understand the technology.
Right.
So,
well, what about from SAP's point of view? What do you think they need to do better when it comes to the SAP HANA roadmap? Is there things that you're hearing from other people in ASUG that if there's one thing I could tell SAP to do better with HANA, what would that be?
Well, I think that whenever there's anything new, there are always questions around it. Mm-hmm. So the roadmap and the roadmap has stayed pretty steady on this one, except maybe dates have changed a little bit, which you expect because it's a new technology.
Sure.
I think besides price, which we're not going to probably get into too much on this conversation, but I think that would be something that is of interest to companies that are interested in HANA. And how the technology works from a technical perspective. What's it doing? It's in memory. Okay, what does that mean? How am I going to get the data points from my old BW system into HANA? How is it going to work? How is it going to interact with business objects?
Right.
Or if you have BPC, which is Business Objects Planning and Consolidation, how is it going to interact with that?
Right.
So the people at First Solar, we use BPC, and they're very interested in that part of it because they want to know how they're going to get their data and get it faster. And maybe now we can bring in some other data points that we didn't have before.
So it's you've made this big investment, obviously, in BW and that infrastructure. Are you confident that SAP HANA that can come together just as well as because over the years you guys put a lot of time and effort into that.
Right.
Is that a question, and do you feel like SAP has answered that? That here's what the new environment's going to look like, and here's how we can get you there.
I think it's a little bit of a mixed answer. Sometimes you may hear that BW goes away, and sometimes you hear that it's going to enhance it, and that a version of HANA will just enhance it. So I think that the idea is that if you have BW and you put that investment in, that you can use HANA to enhance it. But for future projects or future development, perhaps you go model that solution in HANA directly.
Right. You brought up a little bit of business objects and how that fits into the equation. Is that something you're actively seeking out to figure out that for your company as well? And are there questions about that?
We have business objects today. We're looking at the later version of 4.0, or the newer version. And to make all of those things work together, it's a challenge. But I think that it's a necessary challenge. The business objects tools, I believe, are they're better than the old BEX tools that we would use. So it's worth it. And I think once you have those tools out, you can use them for any part of your data, even if you have data that isn't within your SAP system. Like we have another solution for some of our manufacturing data.
So we heard this morning and yesterday too, Steve Lucas's. I think he said we are freaking open or something like that. He used. Does the open environment, is that a necessary prerequisite for you to go and do more with your business objects that you have? Or, it's interesting to hear SAP now really talking about being open.
Right.
When a while back that really wasn't the case. But now this is the new SAP, so I have to.
It's helpful for sure.
Yeah.
Because you have different technologies that you may want to use. Maybe some companies might not use BW.
Right.
So they need to go pull that data in a different way. BPC, the way that it pulls in data, is a little different than just going straight into BW, especially from the Microsoft version. So really, having it open is what I think that customers want.
Yep.
They want to be able to get to the data. At a prior company that I worked for, the CEO said, we can't get good data out of our SAP system. And that, from a developer standpoint, it made me nervous and, kind of a little irritated, I guess.
Right.
Like, what do you mean?
Right.
They're just in the tables. What do you want?
Right.
Which I think that really points out from a business intelligence standpoint. I would say that our biggest challenge is what the business wants. What do you need to run the business?
Right.
And I think that answering that question is one of the keys.
Right. Absolutely. Well, Steve, thank you very much for coming by. We appreciate it. It's a great way to end the past 2 days, and we appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you very much for tuning in to the ASUG Online news studio here, and all these videos will be available over the ASUG Online platform. And thank you very much for watching.